Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum students. Today I am explaining the topic of science grade 8 with PTB syllabus and chapter number 5, and the topic is 5.2.1, that is balancing the chemical equation. First of all, what is the balancing of chemical equation, and what is a balanced equation, and what is an unbalanced equation? So there are two types of equation: balanced equation and unbalanced equation. Balanced equation. Balanced equation is the equation in which number of atoms are equal. Number of atoms are equal in the both sides of the equation. It means the reactant side and the product side. When the reactant side and product side have the same number of atoms, then that equation is called a balanced equation. For example, if hydrogen chloride reacts with sodium hydroxide and it forms sodium chloride with water. Okay, here I am counting the number of atoms in the reactant side and the product side. For example, here I have one hydrogen atom, and in the one hydrogen and the second hydrogen. In the reactant side we have two hydrogen, and in the product side we also have two hydrogen. In the reactant side we have one chlorine atom. In the product side we also have one chlorine atom. Okay, so the hydrogen and chlorine are balanced in the equation. Next, I have one sodium atom in the reactant side, and also I have one sodium atom Na in the product side. So sodium is also balanced. Next, I have only one oxygen in the reactant side and also have one oxygen in the product side. So oxygen is also balanced in the equation. So this equation is the balanced equation, which I have discussed. Okay, next is unbalanced equation. What is an unbalanced equation? Unbalanced equation is that equation in which number of atoms are not equal. When the number of atoms in the product side and the reactant side are not equal, then that equation is called unbalanced equation. Here I am explaining it to you with an example. Hydrogen reacting with chlorine and forming hydrogen chloride. In this equation, in the reactant side I have two hydrogen atoms, whereas in the product side I have only one hydrogen atom. In the reactant side I have two chlorine atoms, and in the product side I have only one chlorine atom. It means that this equation is not balanced. That type of equations are called unbalanced equation. Now the question arises that how can we balance a unbalanced equation? So we have our trial and error method. For this method, trial and error method. What is the trial and error method? Trial and error method, it is the process in which we balance our equation by adjusting coefficients before the symbols. These are the symbols. I am adjusting some coefficient here to balance this equation. Okay, if I put some coefficient here, multiplying with this formula, then this equation may be balanced. Okay, here are the some rules for the working of this trial and error method. You have to follow these rules. First one is write we have to write the balanced equation and count the number of atoms in both of the sides. For example, I am counting the numbers of the reactant side. Here are the two hydrogen atoms and two chlorine atoms. I am counting two hydrogen atoms and two chlorine atoms. Chlorine atoms are two, hydrogen atoms are two, so I am counting the numbers. This is the first rule. You have to count the number of atoms in the reactant side and the product side. Okay, and the second rule is you have to work only with one element. If I am working with hydrogen, then I can't work with the chlorine atom. I will only work with the hydrogen atom. Work with only one element. The third rule is multiplying the equation with the suitable integers. These integers may be 2, 3, 4 or 5, etc. I will use these integers in the equation in that side where the number of particles are less. For example, I have two chlorine atoms in the product side, but two chlorine atoms in the reactant side, but in the product side I have only one chlorine atom. So I will multiply this side by the suitable integer, and I will repeat this process for different elements. Make notice that we will multiply this with the smallest integers first. Okay, then I will repeat this process for all the elements. And the fifth rule is first at the last, if we have the diatomic molecules, for example in this equation I have this diatomic, so I will multiply in the last. Here I have two diatomic molecules in the equation where we have diatomic molecules. We will multiply that diatomic molecules. Diatomic molecules are those molecules which have two atoms in that. Okay, so I will solve this at the end of the process. Okay, this was the trial and error method, and that was the balancing equation. Thank you.